So Eurovision Song Contest, the Fire Saga came out a few weeks ago, and I finally have time to talk about it. So this movie tells the story of two characters, Will Ferrell as well as Rachel McAdams, making their way through the Eurovision contest and hopefully trying to win, and seeing all the twists and turns that play out throughout it. Honestly, when I heard the idea of this, I thought it was fun. I like Will Ferrell. He can be hit and miss for me. Sometimes he does really well, say with a movie like Step Brothers, or he can just kind of drop the ball significantly, which at the moment I can't think of anything he's dropped the ball of. But he does drop the ball massively. Like Holmes and Watson, a movie a lot of people didn't like. I heard the reviews were so bad, I never went to see it. But then you also have Rachel McAdams, and everything I've seen her in, I just love. I love seeing her in comedies, just like Wedding Crashers or even Game Night, which I think is such an underrated gem from the last couple of years ago. These two actors together, I was actually interested to see what they would do. And the premise of this movie as well, the Eurovision. Now, I am from Europe. I've never actually watched Eurovision. I think I've seen like a few songs throughout it, but I've never actually sat down and watched Eurovision. So this was kind of a new thing to me. And even though I had an idea of it was big, but if it's as big as it is in this movie, I'm kind of surprised at how big it is, because I knew it was popular, but I was kind of surprised to see how popular it was actually represented in this movie. Like a lot of countries in this movie take it very seriously, which as far as I know, a lot of countries in Europe do take it seriously. Personally, I'm from Ireland. As far as I know, we don't really take it seriously. Actually, you know what? I know we don't take it seriously, because a couple of years ago we sent Jedward to it. First sisters, let me tell you how it works. Hey! Now that you've seen who Jedward are, you probably understand why I say Ireland probably didn't care. But that scene is actually from the final, so apparently with Jedward, we made it to the final, which is kind of cool. But I don't think we won that year. It'd be kind of surprising if we won. But anyways, the movie itself, you also have the supporting cast. You got Dan Stevens, who the only other thing I've seen him in, and I actually googled it, was the Beauty and the Beast live action remake, and I liked him in that, and I actually liked him in this as well. But the character he plays, it's a really weird character. He's he's an arch enemy to Will Ferrell. He's a love interest plus a friend, and he's all this other kind of stuff to Rachel McAdams. And the way his story goes in the end, it's really weird. It's not a good conclusion to his story, and in general, just the way they kind of formed the character just didn't really work for me. He was a bit all over the place, and it kind of just took a bit of different things from all these different types of characters and put them in him, and it just didn't feel really right to me. It felt like there was definitely something missing from his character that I just really couldn't put my fingers on. Also, they had Graham Norton. I like him. I actually think he's a pretty good TV host, and to have him in a nice little cameo in this movie was pretty good. Actually, it wasn't really a cameo. It was kind of like a support, not really a supporting role, but more of a guest appearance, because he's actually there for a good portion of the movie. He's got a good few funny lines, which kind of majority of his lines are funny, and this movie is very funny. It's actually right down the middle. There's some scenes where I actually kind of chuckled out loud, and there was some scenes where like you could tell they're going for a joke, and I was just like straight dead planned, like dead-eyed looking at the screen, because I did not think it was funny. A lot of the jokes don't land, but a lot of them do land. So that's why I think this movie, it can be funny, it cannot be funny. But the thing that really stood out to me majority of the time for this movie was the emotion. I was shocked with how the emotion hit for me in this movie. I was really surprised. I was not going into this movie expecting to have the emotion hit me as well as it actually did. It really shocked me, because especially towards the end, the emotion really hit really well. And some of that could be because I am a fan of Rachel McAdams. I do want to see her succeed in this movie. So the way it plays out, wanting to see her succeed, and the way the movie resolves, I think it worked really well. Now, the other downsides to this movie, if I'm honest, the downsides to this movie are they make a lot of weird sex jokes, and the sex jokes they're not really organic. It's just really out of nowhere. They make joking differently ways of saying sex, and it just really doesn't work. As well, you got Demi Lovato in this movie, who I'm not really a massive fan of her singing or her acting in general, but the performance of this movie is really odd. The way, like, at the start it's okay, but then towards the middle act of the movie, her character is it's a really weird way of putting the character in there. It kind of makes really no sense, and the storyline that kind of goes on from her character as well, it's a very small storyline. Like, that's what it could have been, a major storyline, but what they did is they just kind of made a small tiny little storyline, which makes no sense in the grand scheme of things, because if you've seen the movie, you know what happens to her character, and the fact that they made that a really small storyline, is kind of a weird choice as well. You do have Will Ferrell in this movie, who I am a fan of, and I liked him in the movie, but also I think he didn't really work in the movie. I think if they got a different actor who's able to do more of the straight face, he Will Ferrell in this movie did do a lot of things right, but I think a lot of it, because of who he is, I couldn't really take him that seriously, and a lot of it came off very silly rather than serious. So you got Rachel McAdams doing really serious moments, and he's just there. He looks like Goofy, and it didn't really work. So I think even though he was like, he really wanted this movie to succeed, he was like a producer. I think he actually helped write the script as well. So the fact that he was this devoted, it kind of makes sense that he did want to star in it. But it might have made a bit more sense if he put someone in there who could maybe just act a little bit better. I'm not saying he's a bad actor, but I just don't think he was able to get the serious notes as well as they should have been able to do. The humour on his end very much seemed like a bit like Step Brothers, where I think it would have worked a lot better if it was like Game Night with Rachel McAdams. That kind of comedy I think would have worked a lot better for this movie, just kind of the way this movie is, because it has the drama. I think the comedy would have worked a lot better, that kind of comedy, rather than the Step Brothers comedy that he kind of really tried to bring forward in this movie. But again, this movie is sort of a musical, so there is a lot of music in it, and the music works really well for me. Actually, I've been listening to it. I actually seen this movie but last week, and I've been listening to a fair few of the songs throughout and work. You got Double Trouble, which is probably the best one, and then you got the song that I actually can't remember the name for right now. Actually, you know what? I should check it. It's out because this song deserves to be said. It's the song that everyone says in the bar that they should sing. What's it called? Okay, yeah, Ding Dong. That is such an entertaining song, a shockingly entertaining song as well. Dan Stevens' song, I like his song. Watching the scene in the movie, I thought it was extremely obvious what was going to happen with his character once you've seen the scene in the movie, but they like to play it off as a big shock. But the music in this movie, I can't think of a bad song. It all just worked really well for me. For me personally though, I'm right down the middle. I don't know how I feel about this movie. Some of it worked really well for me, some of it didn't, so like I think I'm really right down the middle. I could go either way. Someone can give me an opinion on their movie if they liked it a lot and kind of didn't really like it, and then something they tell me could even nudge me a bit more, because I really don't know how I feel. I enjoyed parts of it, I didn't really enjoy some parts of it, and it's not a movie I would recommend. It's also never a movie I will rewatch, and I haven't really given it much of a thought until I actually sat down to kind of formulate my thoughts for this review. I hadn't really given this movie much thought. I think it's a very forgettable movie, but it is a very easy watch, and you will enjoy majority of it, because it does have funny moments. The emotion surprisingly hits really well. So if you're looking for something on Netflix, you know what, actually just give it a watch. It is barely, I think it just scratches 2 hours long, so you could really, it's not that much effort, and it's such an easy watch. So honestly, I'd probably say you should just watch this on Netflix. But if you want to see more movie reviews from me in the future, click that subscribe button so you can come back next time I do a movie review. I talk about the Avengers movies every single week, so if you want to see this week, I'm going to be doing a review of the first Avenger followed by Iron Man 3 and so on and so forth. So if you want to see all that kind of stuff from me in the future, click that subscribe button. But as always, thanks for watching.